Well, I think that the power of images can work in ways that shortcut the conversation. There is so much that can be alluded to with a visual image that defies description. Images can resonate for people and bring back memory or even dream. And when we're in this kind of a powerful emotional state, it's possible to take a look and change perspectives of things that seem ordinary. And I think that this is something that art in general can do, and certainly photography specifically. I grew up in Chicago, and I was fortunate to live in a suburb that was just a few doors down from a nature center. So basically, I spent my time growing up in the woods. And to have that kind of perspective of being in nature all day long and to watch the rhythms of nature and to see the cycles and the interconnectedness is something that affected me as a child, and it went through my entire life. So for me to be able to try to bring about an appreciation for this experience and for the importance of having this as a part of not only my life but the life of generations to come is really critical. I've always been an artist and a writer, and so to be able to combine these two things in ways that describe my passion has been very interesting, but even more so to be able to work with photographers and writers and to help to weave all of the elements together in ways that make a compelling story is really part of the thing that just gets me up every morning and that excites me. The process was very much organic. I didn't just sit down one day and brainstorm a business plan. In fact, the day that Shubhankar Banerjee walked into my life was probably the biggest fork in the road of my entire career and of my life. I knew that there was a momentous shift, but I had no idea where that was going to lead me. It was something that I couldn't have orchestrated, and it was one of those kinds of experiences where one good thing ended up leading to another. And the power of community is so important in all of this work. So it wasn't really a plan, it was trial and error. It was something that evolved and continues to evolve. One of the things that I enjoy most about this work is that it isn't predictable, and it shouldn't be predictable. Things change. Ways of communicating with people and being effective change. We try to learn from those things that seem to be the most impactful and build upon that. So it's a continuous process. Yeah, the work that we do at Braided River really begins with the book as a foundation that everything else extends from. The book is something that we carefully craft in terms of working with the photographer to tell the story in a visual way, and then partnering it with stories from noted writers, poets, historians, biologists, native communities, trying to tell a comprehensive story of a landscape, both visually as well as in terms of information, science, poetry, the prose that basically goes along with the images. This really just is the beginning. It's the piece that everything else extends from. It's the creation of this complete visual metaphor and of this so-called brand, if you will. As an example, we came up with the title of a book with Florian Schultz, Yellowstone to Yukon, Freedom to Roam. And that Freedom to Roam theme was one that we used to build the imagery in the book as well as the stories. And the words Freedom to Roam really described the landscape and the intention of what this project was about in such a way that it provided a kind of a metaphor or a shortcut for people to understand what issues were at stake. The importance of connected wildlife corridors, that national parks are not enough, and if we don't have these wild places in between, these parks, which have been a national heritage and an American treasure, would continue to shrink and shrink and shrink until they were no longer viable. So, coming up with those themes are important, but then extending beyond that so that we're creating websites, we're creating videos, we're working with producers of movies, we're doing events. We're basically taking that theme and extending it out further so that we're leveraging that property in as many different ways as possible, trying to connect to as many different communities as we can. If we publish a book, that is a media-worthy event. It's a way for us to access the media. If we do events with photographers, that's another way for us to access the media. A photographer just can't walk into a news station and say, I have a bunch of really great images, would you like to take a look at them? There's no way that there would be any kind of a follow-up with that. But if you come in and say, I just published a book, I'm doing an event in your community, and I'd like to talk with you about some of the images and stories that I've captured and a little bit about this landscape, there's usually a readiness to explore further. So we may go in and sell 20 books, we may have a crowd of 200 people show up for the event, but by virtue of the media, we can connect with so many more, hundreds of thousands, millions of people more. So the book is really a multiplier for that message. And we just try to think about as many different creative communication strategies as we can that build off the book and that really build off the foundation of these images.